Welcome, viewers. On behalf of Iravati Research and Communication Center, or IRCC, this is your host, Pratim Ranjan Bose. I have with me Professor Sreeradha Datta from Jindal School of International Affairs of the O.P. Jindal Global University. We will discuss the oncoming election in Bangladesh and what it would mean for India. Professor Datta, I would love to see the session being a freewheeling. Election is on January 7th. The last date for nomination is over. Principal opposition BNP is not contesting. A total of 29 parties, including Awami League, are contesting. A fraction of Jatiyo Party, the third largest party, is contesting. The rest are nondescript. We all know what does it mean. Awami League is heading for another landslide victory. In 2014, they won more than 50% seats uncontested in a similar situation where BNP opted out. In 2018, BNP was there, but let's call it a magic election where League got 75% of the votes and 85% of seats. Out of 300 seats, 85% went to Awami League. BNP, if I remember correctly, got 7. This is perhaps a world record for a government that has been 10 years old and in a multi-party situation. I have a simple question to you. What happened to those high decibel sound bites by the US and the Western Bloc about upholding democracy in Bangladesh? Over to you.
Thanks, Pratim. I completely agree with what you're saying, that even much before the election dates were announced, once there was an idea that early 2024, Bangladesh would go in for its 12th parliamentary elections. We've heard for the last 1.5+ years from US, the kind of high decibel noises that you mentioned. RAB, of course, was sanctioned. They've also threatened sanction against people who are part of this not so free and fair, credible election. They have made all that, but the point here is that, as you mentioned,
and not only US, the entire Western Bloc, there were wave of teams that is coming over and witnessing things, parling, having discussions with the opposition, that. So a lot of things have gone into. Then what happened?
Then, at one level, what can another country do? And especially for US or some of the EU countries who are part of it. In fact, even that signatory, I think Japan, Korea were part of the signatory bloc that you're referring to, who had raised concerns about the way the Awami League party and the government was going about in terms of the electoral landscape, which is very, very one-sided. But as we have seen even earlier, you mentioned 2014, you mentioned 2018, when the government in power is so hell-bent on taking a particular policy through, and the fact, I keep, every time we have a discussion like this, I keep raising the issue that, if you recall, in 1990, General Ershad had to step down because of Bangladeshi, all the parties got together, people of Bangladesh got together, irrespective, the entire civil society was out on the grounds, right? And he had to step back, and multi-party democracy started post that. Again, in 96, if you remember, the BNP party also was trying to do a similar farcical election, which is when the caretaker government was brought in, because that was a safeguard to the political party.
I have a point here, particularly with regard to this caretaker government. I'm really not a fan of the caretaker government. Caretaker government actually punctured the democracy. If you see, in 1996, probably they conducted election, I don't remember, probably within 3 months. Okay. But if you see it, since then, there was no hold on the tenure. They can hold election anytime they want. So it went up to even 1 year, and last between 2006 and 2008, for 2 years, there was a government. And most often, these governments are army-backed. Okay. So this is a this is not democracy. There can be power can smoothly be transferred from one government to another. I mean, I don't want to mix up with this issue of caretaker government and holding free and fair election. I think these two issues are different.
No, I agree to some extent, but not fully. I'll tell you why. Bangladesh it continues to be a fragile democracy. Yes, there is electoral democracy on the ground. Every 5 years, we've seen a kind of election, free and fair or not. But at the same time, given the divisiveness that exists between the polar parties, which is largely Awami League and BNP on two sides, and a very small Jatiya party who we know keeps moving from one side of the pendulum to the other, the neutral or the interim government, in fact, if you see till 2006, they've always held only for 3 years, 3 months. They've served the tenure term the way it is mandated. It is only in 2006 when situation was completely out of hand because the BNP had manipulated the caretaker government mandate in a way where the last high court, retired high court judge is the head of the caretaker government, and that other technocrats are consensually brought in. That manipulation led to that lapse that you mentioned, which is about 18 months or so. But again, if you recall, it was, and I do agree that it was really the army behind the caretaker government, the facade. But at the same time, I think really a very robust free and fair election of 2008 December was held under this particular caretaker government, which is backed by the army. The first completely clean voters list was actually brought out by this particular caretaker government. If you recall, Bangladesh has never had independence of institutions. This was the first time, again, a caretaker government, again, through the RP, was able to bring. It's a different matter that political parties of the government don't, respect that particular division. But I'm just saying that Bangladesh being the way it is, the fact that this is, both of us look at South Asia very closely, irrespective of the problems of political parties in every state, whether it's Nepal, whether it's Sri Lanka, different political parties belonging to different ideologies, different sides come together. They speak at, social events, even at, different fora. In Bangladesh for the last 20 years, when was the last time you've seen political leaders of different sides coming together? BNP and Awami Leagues, even, members are not seen in the same room together. You and I know when we meet them in Bangladesh or elsewhere, it's always separately. So there is a very unhealthy situation amongst political parties there. So under those circumstances, I think the interim government or the caretaker government was the only way. And I agree, there is a problem. I mean, it basically reflects the fact that the Bangladesh is not
No, my problem with the caretaker
democratic.
government is my rider with the caretaker government is, see, wherever there was army rule, okay, a kind of narrative is instilled into the public mind that army can be an option. It is a problem. You see, whether it is Pakistan, anywhere, wherever there was this kind of an army as a third kind of institution or parallel institution, this problem occurs, and that is not healthy for democracy. That is no way democracy. Okay, so if for example in India you are transferring the power, there is a government, because after all there has to be a government. A country cannot live without a government, but the government's power is restricted by a code of conduct, and it operates within that, and the institution takes over, and it does. Now that could have been developed. So, leaving it to that caretaker government, quote unquote, what Bangladeshis always love to mention, I find it very dangerous. It is not democratic at all. It is not
I
democratic.
totally agree, but the political parties in Bangladesh are not democratic themselves. And each political party, irrespective of who's in power, has tried to manipulate the system. This time we are
Absolutely.
discussing Awami League, who's manipulating the system. We've seen BNP, every instance they manipulate the system. So, I mean, then under these circumstances, what does one do? I mean, who people can't trust? I mean, every time there's an election result verdict, somebody's going to question it, and there's going to be kind of a turbulence because of the deep mistrust. But there's a phrase in Bengali, Mondir Bhalo. I think caretaker government takes that position just
I mean,
now
what
in
you are
Bangladesh.
mentioning is taken, well taken. You are saying that they conducted a free and fair election.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have no, doubts on that front.
So that
And
is what probably. I mean, we are not seeing any contest for quite some time now. Let us put it that way, which is not really good. And so back to the question, what the international community, I mean, there has been so much of sound bites, this, that, and in Bangladesh, I mean, in Dhaka, almost every other day, they are coming and people are talking about. So, I mean, I have no problem if Bangladesh is a monarchy, if it is army ruled, if it is a single party operation, I have no problems. It is their problem. I, as an outsider or as an Indian, I would look at it as how, to what extent my kind of relationships, what are my benefits into it. So I don't care what kind of governance structure they would prefer for themselves. But, talking so much, then why the world does talk so much that, this upholding, it's a mockery, isn't it? Don't you think so?
no, no, I'm going to, I think, I mean, there's a limitation what somebody can do, what any other power can do. For instance, as I said, US, even if the elections are held under the present circumstances, I'm sure US will follow through with their threats. I don't think these are empty threats. And there has to be, I mean, obviously, I mean, at one level, I've constantly argued at several such platforms that as a sovereign entity, I do not want any other country telling me what I should do. I will decide for
Right.
myself what I want to do.
Right.
But the given circumstances that is unfolding in Bangladesh is extremely difficult and extremely dangerous. I would use the word. So
Now,
under those circumstances,
that takes me to the next question. I understand, what you mean by dangerous is that, we are seeing kind of, I don't know, but exactly, but kind of a Russia next door, where elections are held and a particular leader keeps winning. Okay. Though there is a, I'm saying it loosely. The point, what I would probably we are agreeing is that, by this process, they are alienating quite, even if it is not majority, but if substantial share of the population is alienated from the political process by virtue of such kind of elections. And that is what you tell as dangerous. So how should...
I disagree with you here. I think a large number of people, a large section of the population is not with this particular process. I mean, there are many people who support Awami League because, I mean, for us, I mean, you and I are watching it from outside. We sincerely believe if anybody can uphold a secular fabric in Bangladesh, this is Awami League. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina can. So there are many positive things about this particular government. But even within Awami League, or even people who support or kind of trust Awami League, there are many people I know who are very upset with the way things are. So I don't agree with you
100%.
that a large section. So there is a huge section of population. And recently I've also been, both of us follow media and other reports. Again, media has been totally silenced, that. The kind of repressive measures they've brought in. I'm not just talking about Digital Security Act and those kind of things. Whole lot of other threats have been used against individuals, organization, groups. So clearly, even that's very muffled. But even now, just now, in the last 2 days, we've been hearing how people have been arrested, let go on the simple ground that you are going to come out to vote, you are going to do this, you are going to support the particular election. So again, there is a very, very strong-handed measure in terms of ensuring, or at least in the public domain, sending a message saying that all is well. I mean, it's business as usual, which again is something that I think people can see through, but people are scared. And in so many instances, you and I speak on openly on platforms. We know Bangladeshi friends don't want to be seen there for obvious
Absolutely,
reasons.
that has been my
So
experience. In fact, I'm not
yes,
getting my friends to come on my podcast for quite some time.
exactly,
And
exactly.
even
So
on
what does that tell
very
you?
innocent issues, non-political issues, economic issues, people just don't want to comment anything. They don't want to be seen.
Exactly.
And this includes right from journalists to academics. Okay, so
So
that's a really
and
difficult situation for some.
we've just
I mean,
seen
I'm
a
not saying, I
state.
mean, we just cannot say that that has been the general, we cannot generalize it. But, well, this is a small experience that we had, probably.
In the last 6 months, in the last 1 year, I've been there on and off, and I've never seen a mood which is like this now. People are scared, people are apprehensive, people are constantly thinking before they
No,
speak.
no, let me
So,
just switch the gear here. Bangladesh has been very, there is some similarity to Bengal, excessively political.
yes,
The
absolutely.
society has been excessively political, unnecessarily political. For every damn thing, you see a BNP and Awami League debate, just as over here, CPM, BJP, or Trinamool debate. Okay.
Yes.
For everything, it doesn't exist anywhere else in the country. People talk on their caste or whatever, but not so much on the party line. So they call it a party society. So do you think that this is a positive, that at least people are just kind of, dissuaded from talking politics that much and do rather
Uh,
business?
no, I think by nature, Bengalis, whether West Bengal or Bangladeshis, I mean, you're also aware of the fact that in Bangladesh, the prime time political discussion takes place at night when the rest of the world is watching soap
Yeah,
operas.
I don't
So
know.
that that
That's too
basically
much.
tells
Right?
you,
At 12 o'clock at night, they keep discussing politics, and
yes,
that is the time we are either taking our nightcap or going to, bed, kind
ex
of.
exactly. I'm watching rubbish on Netflix, right? The rest of the world does.
Yeah.
But
It
so
is a
this
politics
is a
crazy nation.
reflection.
It is a politics crazy
Exactly.
nation.
Exactly. So what you're saying that they are now they're scared, so they're keeping quiet. It's not because they've lost interest in politics. Which brings me to this word that I use, that a dangerous situation is unfolding, because there is again, there is a large number of people that you and I again we keep communicating, speaking, and every time everybody tells us this is all India is doing. I mean, I would like to believe that India can do a lot, but obviously, I'm not sure that any other country can have the capacity to do so much. But they would love to believe that India is. But the kind
No,
of
fine. This time at least they should blame US or the
uh,
Western Bloc, because they came forward. They said they are the vanguards of the democracy. They, there has been loads and loads of stories in Dhaka Club and the diplomatic club about how, well, these are stories, and Bangladeshis love to do that. So that how the, this the America is doing this to India or this that. So they were very upbeat about how the US is going to save the democracy. So this time at least they must
yes,
not blame India.
no. So the other section that I say this in a serious fashion, they think it is because of India that they're able to push through. The 2014, yes, you supported, you went through 2018.
I
Even
agree.
today,
2014,
even
2018.
today,
Hmm.
today the conversations I've had with a few of my friends in Bangladesh, they said the same thing. So whether it's a perception, see again in international politics, perception plays a strong role. So I keep saying that you make India seem like a superpower. India doesn't have the capacity, but the point is that everybody believes that if it wasn't for India's support, this particular government. So I think this government would do what they want to do either way.
Right.
It's just that because of the circumstances on the ground, they've worked so well with India, the partnership just unfolded. Obviously, India believes that this particular government means stability for us and progress for us.
Right.
Given the fact that our past experience with BNP, especially 2001 and 2000, between 2001 and 6, was a disaster. But I think you and I both agree, but that while that we agree that the kind of violence, extremism we've seen under BNP government, obviously everything changed with the Awami League Sheikh
Now,
Hasina
this
government.
is a narrative I constantly challenge. See, there is in politics, you make strange bedfellows, right? So there is no permanent friend or enemy. And there has been a situation in the past, doesn't mean that they will have a similar situation. And if they can create a similar situation for you, then in these 20 years, you failed to neutralize those threats. Sorry to say this, right? So it doesn't really matter.
That's exactly my argument, that in the last 15 plus years, how come we were not able to deal with that? How come we've not been able to? And also, I'm not even
No,
convinced that
I would like to
the
take you
same.
to some a little just. I'd like to take it to the more critical side of the story. See, you said about Bangladeshis blaming India. Now there are both psychological perspective, psychological, political, and religious political perspective to it. I don't know whether you would agree, but it's a fact. It's a fact that, given the lineage to Pakistan and all these things, we are not natural friends. Let's put it very bluntly. At least, if not, I don't know whether it is 90% or 80%, but the majority of population would love to, for whatever reason, for anything. Okay, this is just a pastime. So that has been there. This is a matter of fact. Right, wrong is a different issue. I'm not getting into the value judgment. And on top of that, there is a situation which you said is dangerous, that where you are alienating or creating a situation where you are muffling voices, or the voices are being muffled, and that is not really, so if for a politics crazy nation, they cannot talk, they cannot discuss kind of a situation, if at all, let us assume that whatever you and I say is not even 50% correct, right? So
Yeah.
all put together, here is, but it's a populous country, 17 or 18, 16, 18 crore population, huge in that small space of land. How do you think it would be unfolding to India? And we cannot deny that, at least visually, we left an imprint in 2014 when Sujata Singh went, and it was a communication disaster. And so all put together, how do you see it is unfolding to us? I mean, clutching on to that old narrative you said about the partnership, but if you really look at it closely, say recently there has been this rail link, Achaura-Agartala rail link is open. Now there has been fantasies sold through media. I mean, or rather the media is so stupid these days. You see, the Bangladeshi side, the line is narrow gauge. Indian side is broad gauge. Tell me how a train will be running from Agartala to Calcutta. So these are some rubbish that is being peddled. So why? And if you go and look at this place, this Sabroom, right, where we are building an ICP, we have taken the rail, we have built the road, we built the cargo terminal. Bangladesh opened the passenger terminal. Our passenger terminal will come 6 months down the line. Now tell me, where is the communication? Where is the, where do I see the synchronized effort to increase things? Rather, I see, I mean, let me put it very bluntly, rather I see that there are efforts to keep it at bay. So we are not at the best of the terms, at least not in last 5 years. This is what I can see, right?
I agree, because if you examine the line of credit, there was so much of exuberance about the 7.8 billion. You know, last time I checked with
It is not 7.8 billion. It is more than that, because you are missing out 700 million, which went as aid.
Yeah, the energy trade, I'm keeping that aside. The other infrastructure, no, I'm just specific to the official LOC which was granted. On that, not even 1.5 billion have been used, and it hasn't been used because just what you're saying, that there has been a lack of interest, lack of initiative, and there has been major issues on the ground on both sides,
I mean,
especially
LOC apart,
Bangladesh.
we did a lot to solve the electricity issues there, right?
Yes.
Rampal Power Station had come up with 1.66 or $8 billion softest credit in the world. Okay.
Yes.
And on top of that, you had this Godda Power Station of Adani, which is, and there we did it dedicated. It is basically a dimmed, it is basically a dimmed FDI to Bangladesh. The investment, the plant is in India, but it is dedicated to Bangladesh. So
towards,
So if you see all these things, India has actively tried, rightly, wrongly, whether India broke its own laws or whether something, you can argue, but India had actively tried to stand by its commitment. So did you see adequate response from the other side? I don't think so. I don't know about
I agree. We haven't seen that. While some of the other neighbor funded projects have flown, right? They've happened. They've kind of been brought to a fusion. So there are issues on that side too. So I mean, I agree that all the bonhomie that we think exist, there has been a bit of, especially exactly what you mentioned. 5 years we haven't seen too many things being implemented or finalized or executed. Of course, energy trade has taken off, which was the first thing that took off after 2010 joint.
No, lot many things have happened. I don't disagree, but But it could have been better. As I said, that there can be more cooperation in that line. There could have been more.
I mean, I agree to that, but I think I'll come down to the core issue that India has vis-a-vis this particular government, that this government understands and addresses our security concerns, which are core, which India is always apprehensive that DNP will never be able to do that or doesn't have the intention to do that. But I'm not even sure whether we can say that with some kind of a finality, really, whether any other government. And I think the relationship has moved from 2001 to a very different space now. So once people are actually benefited on both sides, would any government who's been, voted in by the people go against people's wishes or their benefits? So I mean, there has to be some argument here. I mean, why are we stuck on that old narrative? I'm not able to also understand.
I would love to think that today's BNP, forget about some top faces, right? But down under, they are not the same people. How can they be? In 20 years of time, lot many people have died. So,
and just as I don't think Awami League is the same people either. And
absolutely right. And especially when you enjoy unchallenged power. So we are living in post-ideological world. So whosoever were in the opposition will be in the ruling party. That is norm not only in Bangladesh. It's a norm in India. It's a norm anywhere in the world nowadays. People keep changing sides.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last, just 1 minute before we finish, do you think that the emerging trouble, I hope you will agree that the Rakhine side is getting volatile. There is high prospect that it will be more volatile in the days to come. And, do you think that it anyway, sort of forced the Western Bloc to accommodate things? Because, in fact, just the 2 days ago, I saw someone saying that, Bangladesh should buy more from more Boeing and this and that. So they are always good salesmen. And whether Western Bloc and India, whether these things have any influence on our security concerns and etc.
I think India also, given the fact that it works very closely with all the extra regional partners, you're referring to US, you're referring to Japan, the other interested partners in Bangladesh, and our security concerns, which are going to emanating from this particular Rohingya issue and the, very, very volatile periphery that we have. So that's something I think is not unknown to them also, and our, concerns. So I do agree that at some, while we have difference of opinion about what is democracy and democratic norms and standards, but in terms of the ground reality, where things go on outside anybody's control, then what is the consequences? And nobody will face the consequences more strongly than India will. And I think India has been able to convey that, has been talking about it, has conveyed that quite,
That's a very
I
natural.
think,
We should have our natural
strongly.
concerns, and
Absolutely.
let's end it there. Therefore, that forget about the narratives that is going around, but in the end, the world politics is about self-interest. So if India has interest about its security concern, or US has a issue somewhere, with regard to Bay of Bengal. Bay of Bengal is most militarized zone. So all this put together, these are very legitimate things. These are very legitimate concerns that we should have. Now, what happens to Bangladeshi election? Only what is known is what is going to be the outcome of Bangladesh election. Sheikh Hasina is going to come back again with a landslide majority.